Hello, I'm Howie Sheriff, and welcome to, and I'm thrilled to say, another The You Call This Yoga show. After our inaugural show last week, we now have a series. I'm thrilled to share what we're all about because the purpose of the show is to have dialogue with our guests as well as our audience, inform our group, and archive pearls of wisdom that we've accrued over time, creating a strand of wisdom that we can all draw from and discuss, and build community throughout the United States and probably the world with yogis and health and wellness professionals who can grow and share with us. Today, I have the honor of bringing Robert Sidoti on as our guest. He is the founder and partner in Broga. Robert will clarify his role a little further. Broga, as you may derive, is for bros, but not exclusively, and we'll go into that further. We may notice that many a yoga class has the potential of 90% women or more. That disparity can create an awkwardness for the male practitioner seeking to find his place in the yoga community. I personally have had several physical limitations and have experienced that myself, positioning myself in the back or to the side, going at a whole different pace than all those around me, and ultimately finding ways to create comfort for myself, but still feeling a little bit on the outs. We'll delve into that with Robert. Getting more provincial, though, next to me is Amnon, our producer. Hello, Amnon.
Hello, Howard. How are you? Howie, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I need to get used to that.
Well, when I first moved to North Carolina, many a person... Time out.
Uh-huh.
All right, viewers, you can keep your phones on, but I'll silence mine. When I first moved to North Carolina about 35 years ago, Howie wasn't a familiar term, so I adapted and used my formal name, Howard. For some, that stuck, but you can call me Howie. All right, back to the show.
Howie.
Thank you. This is a dialogue show, not just between Robert and I or Amnon on occasion, but we invite you to call in with questions or comments at 919-518-9773. You can type them on your computer in the chat box, and Skype is available at Computers 2K Voice. Computers 2K Voice. Let's return to our guest. Welcome, Robert.
Hey there, how you doing? Thanks for having me, Howie. Howard.
That's right, Bob.
Call me just about anything. I'm not ready for Bob yet, but Bob's a great name, but I'm not ready for it. So
you still have too much hair.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. 46. I got a little bit left.
Good.
Thanks for acknowledging, Howie.
It's a pleasure. Well, you look terrifically.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really, really, really appreciate it. And just in advance, you made a slight little error with my last name. So very commonly people say Sidoti, but it is Sidoti. Sidoti.
Thank you. I failed to ask in advance. Well, we're human.
Yes.
And if you call me...
What's that?
If you call me Howard, I'll call you Sidoti.
All right, Howard. You can just refer to me as Sidoti the rest of the show. I'm fine with that. I love that.
Okay. We won't get
but
into, yes.
but thank you. Like I really thank you so much. And anybody who might be listening, feel free to ask any questions. I'm here and I want to share whatever I can possibly share. So what's going on, Howard?
Well, thank you, Robert. My first question is, tell me about your introduction to yoga and what that experience was like.
Well, my introduction to yoga was super great. It was very positive. I've always been pretty interested in fitness and athletics, so I didn't come into the yoga class with any real hesitation or reservation. Really, it was at my gym. I was living in New York City, and I thought, oh, this is a cool new way to move my body, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for sure, I remember looking at the clock in the studio, wondering when it was going to be over because it was really hard. It was really hard. I remember so clearly, and I always share this with as many students as I can because I know they're feeling it when they're pretty new. As I remember my thighs and all these lunges just on fire, burning. And I remember just thinking like, this has got to end soon. And I could not wait to get out of it. But gradually, my body started to adapt to it, and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't necessarily only enjoy the power yoga stuff. I really enjoyed a lot of the relaxation, the more sort of quiet, calm, and restorative practices as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have like, a lot of teachers or a lot of people who've been, practicing yoga for many years. They come into this, an interview like this with, well, I'm a recovering this, or I had a major back injury. I don't really have any of that. It's really just, it's mostly all positive. I just love it. I love the feeling. And again, I'll just reiterate, it wasn't always amazing in the beginning. It was hard and difficult, but I grew to appreciate that challenge and that sort of relationship with my body, a different relationship rather than, say, going to the gym or playing basketball or surfing or any other thing that I enjoyed doing physically. So yeah, but I do remember early on, I and I hope this isn't digressing. I don't think it is, but I'm sure there are plenty of people out here who have done the same thing. But it was at Equinox. I was living in New York, and there was an Ashtanga class, and I didn't know anything about it. This was like 1997, 98, 99, somewhere right around there, pretty early on in my yoga career. And I thought, all right, well, I'll go check this Ashtanga thing out, but I'm going to get a good workout before I go because it's yoga and whatever, it's not going to be that hard. And so I did, all the regular chest and back and legs, and I went into this class, and it was one of the hardest, most humbling experiences of my life. They're doing the jump throughs, the jump backs, the press ups to the handstands, and I could barely hold downward dog without, my legs trembling, my arms trembling. And finally, the teacher, and I still don't know how I feel about this. The teacher came up to me and she said, "Oh, sweetie, I think you're in the wrong place." And I thought, I sort of like, put my head down, rolled up my mat, and walked out. And but I kept coming, and I realized that it wasn't a great idea to work out for an hour solid before that Ashtanga class, Ashtanga 2-3, level 2-3. So I've had my little bumps in the road, and you know, however many years later, 16, 17 years later of practicing yoga, it's benefiting, and it's continuing to benefit me, and has benefited me greatly. I adore it, love it.
Wonderful. I can appreciate that background as I was a very physical and recreational athlete, and I would go to my yoga class as a warm up for softball. And I would
Hmm.
and I would slide out before shavasana because I was
Right,
looking to get revved up as opposed to simmer down.
right.
Eventually I incorporated shavasana at home after getting fatigued from playing ball, or hopefully fatigued from playing ball.
Yeah.
So we can appreciate that men may have a greater tendency to look at the physical benefits on the front end, and hopefully the emotional, mental elements that are beneficial can creep in later on.
Right.
So I can
Yeah.
appreciate that. Uh,
Yeah.
when you were
Absolutely.
when you were doing the Ashtanga, were they introducing props into the practice too?
No, no. This was like and this isn't a negative thing to the teacher. I think it was a level 2-3. So if you come into the class as a level 2-3 practitioner, I would imagine you would know what to go and get.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I've been practicing for a while, I know, all right, I'm still at sort of like I need the blocks to be able to jump through, or I need a strap for this shoulder movement or whatever. But I don't honestly remember if she presented the props like, go ahead and get what you need. We're going to need this, that, and the other. I'm sure she did. But knowing myself at the time, and I know a lot of people do this because their relationship with props are such as like they're a crutch, or you you're lesser than if you have to use the props.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably, when she said that, like, props, I'm good. I'm good. I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need those crutches.
Right.
And I think that over time, whenever I teach, I teach quite a few classes and workshops. I always, if I don't say anything about the props, the people that grab the props are the people who are teachers or the most experienced, people who have been doing it longest, because they know the value.
Mm-hmm.
They know their bodies. They know their bodies really well. And they know the value that these props can bring to certain postures. So, I mean, when you talk about props, and that's probably an entire show you could be talking about that with.
Thank you for the tip. I'll make a note of that, and we'll look at a proper show. If
Oh
there,
yeah, but I mean, I'm happy to talk about props all day. I just,
we'll get the propers when you get home. Uh,
yeah,
Thank you on that. And
yeah.
with that point, I'd like to offer the audience our first pearl of the day. Since Robert mentioned thighs, I've got something for you to consider about thighs. Amnon, will you share the first pearl today? Viewers, we welcome your feedback, or listeners too. Or others just sort of laying back in their seat, legs spread, body slumped over. You might be doing that now. Well, if you suffer from a condition called manspread, since I sense that's most likely in men, then we can adjust that by paying attention to our inner thighs. What I mean is orienting the legs so that the inner thighs are drawing in a little bit, which invites the feet to press down a little more firmly and allows you to sit up taller. This can reduce pressure in your lower back, foster better balance, and allow you to breathe more easily. Try that and see how it feels, and let me know. Who sat up immediately?
I did.
All right. Well, we have hashtag try this and let me know. So if you're ready to share some feedback on tweeting or tweet on Twitter, then we welcome that dialogue also. Robert, how would you suggest viewers respond to this tip about inner thighs? What do you see in Manspread in your world?
Well, honestly, I don't have a lot of experience with that. You're throwing me a curveball there. The only thing I can remember about manspreading is it's not really a yoga topic, but they were saying like they're starting to give out tickets to people on the subway in New York City for sitting with their legs too wide.
Oh,
That's what I thought about immediately when you said manspreading. So
mm-hmm.
but if we're speaking about yoga and anatomy, I think that's one of the weaker areas of the body.
Mm-hmm.
The adductors, inner thighs. I don't think that they're addressed. I think the only time that they're addressed is when we look to stretch the groin, Baddha Konasana or bound angle pose,
Mm-hmm.
or any kind of like deep side lunging. But to actually like tone and strengthen the inner thighs is is something that's not addressed as much as the rest, I think. So I
Hmm.
don't really have a lot of time. I'd have to sort of like think about that one for a little bit. So
It
sorry I
is,
don't have any
it's
good
okay.
feedback on that.
We sometimes throw curveballs to our guests. Um,
Yeah.
we also have many viewers, and as I've noticed, many teachers and participants of Broga that are women. Uh,
Yeah.
in my classes too, where balance and standing up properly can be a condition that many women also experience, that I find that their awareness of their inner thighs can be lacking too. So my suspicion is it's more than just men. The challenge with women is they sometimes cross their legs and they're over engaging their adductors or inner thighs and not creating a balance in their hips and knees.
Mm.
So, females, if you're crossing your legs, I would invite you to consider planting your feet 2 fists apart and engage those inner thighs. Hashtag try this and let me know. Great. Since I brought up females, which are the predominant participants of yoga here, and I've noticed that though the name is Broga, that your teachers are, in my viewing, more women than men, and that the attendees in many a class are still more women than men. How are women feeling about Broga?
Well, so like a little recap, like when we started Broga, the intention really was to get more men practicing um, and teaching, so what happened was it was really a male focused practice because of my involvement in yoga. Just seeing that, it's like, wow, where are all the guys? There aren't that many guys. And again, I'm talking about, this was 2006, 7, or early 2000s, when I was practicing quite a bit and noticing this. Broga didn't really come around until about 2008, 2009, when I started teaching. And up until now, things have definitely shifted. So in creating this, it was just acknowledging, like, wow, I want to try to create something where the language, the marketing, the postures, everything about Broga spoke to the guy in a way that made them feel like, oh man, that's for me. I need to reduce the stress. I've got high blood pressure. My hamstrings are tight. My strength is diminishing. My balance. It's less about creating an environment for men so that they don't feel afraid. I think that gets written about quite a bit. Like, are your men intimidated? Are they afraid to go to yoga? It's not really my focus. The focus is more driven toward, like, let's just create a yoga program that a lot of men are going to look at and go like, I want to do that. I want to do that. And those are movements that I could see myself doing and really benefiting from. And with that said, as like we started to kind of like get the programs going and the teacher trainings going, we noticed, and more classes, we just noticed that a lot of women liked that program as well. So we started to make, we have to stick to the Broga title because we love it, and we get on shows like this and we get written about, and I think a lot of people are drawn to it. Um, so in creating all of these classes, workshops, programs, teacher trainings, we've noticed that a lot of women are drawn to it because they appreciate the accessibility, the simplicity, the the functionality of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So it's not so much like we're holding the men, holding their hands and being like, it's okay, buddy, you can do this. It's just more like, dude, this is for you, man. This is for you. This isn't like, maybe some of the other yoga programs out there aren't speaking your language, but we're just one of many approaches. We're not trying to like be opposing factor to yoga. Yoga is way too general and amazing and broad to be in opposition or contrast to. This is a program that I hope over time will stand alone, stand on its own 2 feet, and offer a good balance between functional movement, yoga, meditation, mindfulness. So I think both men and women are drawn to it. And I
Great.
think, from a business standpoint, we realize like, wow, we're only going to be gearing this for teachers and students to men. We're cutting out it's kind of a bad business deal, a bad business plan, to leave out all the women. And women are amazing. And as far as teachers go, we have a lot of women teachers. And what it comes down to is like, if you're a good teacher, you're a good teacher. It doesn't matter if you're man, woman, child. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're a good teacher and you have a good sort of like a well-intended way about you, you're smart and you are driven, and you're passionate about it, doesn't matter who you are. And
Great.
this practice is, so it's designed for anybody.
Good. All right. Well, speaking of making sure that our audience is engaged, we have a call from Trisha. Trisha, welcome.
Hi, Trisha.
Your house last month filming a video.
What's that?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Trisha, you're not on video.
I was at Howie's house last month filming a yoga video. I'm glad to be on the show and asking a question.
All right.
Great.
Trisha, welcome back. Any questions?
My question is, I've been doing yoga for a year, and I'm interested in introducing it to my husband, but I don't think he'll be comfortable going to a class with mostly women. And I was wondering if there were any male-oriented classes in the triangle, and if it's a good thing to start offering such a thing if there's not.
Okay. The
triangle is your area?
Yes. Trisha, the only one that I know is called Yoga for Dudes, and that's in either Durham or Hillsborough. But Robert, what about any Broga programs that might be in the North Carolina area?
So Trisha, hi, nice to see you, sort of. So your husband, if you feel like he's not really down to go to a yoga class, which that applies to men, women as well. I personally offer, as our brand, we offer something that's it's called the Boss Broga Online Studios. There are a number of video challenges, tutorials, and ways for him to get involved with yoga, learn a few things about it. There's some full-length practices that he could do over and over and over to become more and more sort of like comfortable with the postures and with the movements. Eventually feeling like, oh man, this is a lot more simple and easier than I realized. And then maybe he'll transition into to the class.
Hello?
Okay.
Does that make sense, Trisha?
Hello?
Hold on, caller.
Oh, yes, great.
Hold on.
Thank you so much. I'll hang up now so somebody else can call.
But Trisha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she
All
can
right.
hear
Yes,
us.
I'm still here.
Great.
Oh, okay. And then the other one would be, and this is something that could be kind of cool for the two of you,
Hello?
is I've just offered a, if you go onto yogaanytime.com, there's a 30-day challenge that is perfect for someone like your husband. And if you've been practicing for a year, it'd be perfect for you as well. And something you guys could do together at home. It's free. So Yoga Anytime 30-day challenge, you could check that out as well. Those are my two suggestions.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Trisha.
No, but I was gonna. I just want to tell the people that are calling in. More than one caller can call in, but when you call in, lower the volume on either on the phone that you're watching it on or on the computer, because there is a delay and it will confuse you. And don't expect to be answered and right away go in, because there may be somebody else. It's like a conference call. So whoever called and went hello, 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 when you can call back now because there's nobody online, but wait until you're addressed to be talking.
All right, the stampede of calls is tempered a little bit.
It's always like this in the beginning. People are new people, and they're not familiar with how things work. It's okay.
Us too.
Yeah, I don't know how it works either, guys. So, but if you want to call in, I'd love to chat with you if you feel like it'd be helpful.
hmm One thing that I noticed when I was viewing your videos on the Boss channel was the incremental style that you were presenting, which is very similar to how I present the development of a pose too.
hmm
So it's very interesting because you have a greater skill and flexibility than I, who's middle-aged, 60 plus. And it's very important for beginners and even seasoned yogis to keep that awareness of the elements of the pose as opposed to a frenetic continuum of movement that may lose contact with the breath.
hmm
We talked a
hmm
little bit about just now about the inner thighs. What other pearl off the top of your head or body comes to mind for you that you would like folks to think about on the strand?
Well, my big focus is, well, if we're talking about some anatomy stuff, right off the
Mm-hmm.
top of my head, my big focus over time has been the pelvis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, my friends, are to research anything to do with the pelvis in yoga and figuring out how to apply a neutral pelvis for the most part in almost every pose,
Mm-hmm.
you will benefit greatly. It will be a more sustainable way and functional way to move through a lot of these poses. So many of us move into these poses with an anterior, a forward tilt, and then we lift our chest, which creates this like compression in our low back. And you might not even feel it right away, especially if you're kind of new and you don't have any back issues. You might not feel it, but over time, you might feel some achiness and discomfort in your low back from just excessive compression in the low back. You're asked to do these back bends and heart openers and lunges and warriors. And if the pelvis isn't addressed in a neutral fashion, if you don't really understand how to move it forward and back, posterior and anterior, you might run into some problems. Maybe not. Maybe you'll be great all the way through. But I do know that, I mean, we could talk about the pelvis for an hour. That's another show, Howard, the pelvis, and how it benefits your hip flexors, your psoas, your back, your core, everything. So because this isn't a show about the pelvis, my friends, if you research it, there's plenty of intel out there about it. It's well worth looking into.
And viewers, last week's fun and yum healthy tip was the lumbar limbo roll. I have mine here again. Anyone have theirs? That's okay. It's basically a rolled up towel that goes in the lower back. It's not a pillow, but it's a reference to invite that curve in the lower back that curves forward, as opposed to if you're tipping your pelvis forward in Manspread and your back may curve away from your front body. So, folks, that's why we talk about pressing the feet, engaging the thighs while seated or standing, just to get familiar with moving your pelvis back and forth. I constantly wiggle in my chair, or if I'm seated properly on my chair, so that I can position my pelvis. From there, the spine flows upward, and then the head can be another corruptor. Let's take a moment to go to our fun and yum health and wellness tip and learn a little bit more about ways to stay healthy. Thank you, Amnon. Do you love your caffeine? I know I do on occasion. It could be a pal or a devil. How is it a pal? Well, it could be stimulating, improving focus, and potentially athletic ability. However, the devil side causes loss of fluids because it's called a diuretic. It could also stimulate your nervous system to the point of irritability and inability to sleep. That could continue promoting a busy monkey mind, and we're all seeking to calm that down. Consider the potential of drinking more water to compensate for caffeine's effects, cutting out caffeine after 4 o'clock as it could stay in your system 8 to 10 hours, blending with half decaf, or what I like to do is to add almond milk in equal proportions, providing proteins and minerals. Consider this the next time you're brewing. Check this out and let me know what it's like. Well, I have my little beverage here too. How are you, Robert? How's your hydration? All right, tell me what you're drinking.
This is a combination of water and water.
Wow, you
Yeah,
are.
it takes a while to master the mix,
Mm-hmm.
but you just keep doing it, you'll figure it out.
Wow, that's
Yeah, no, I
powerful.
love coffee. I love coffee. It's the first thing, no joke. First thing I have in the morning, and I've got my routine, but I do follow it with multiple glasses of water. The problem with having so much water in the morning is that it sets you up to go to the bathroom all day.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a little frustrating, but it's good. It's hydrating, makes me feel good. So that's my morning routine: coffee, water, some yoga moves, some good positive like I'm gonna take this day down.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously though, that's kind of like a loose interpretation of my morning.
Well, I can appreciate that. It definitely has its benefits. I also used caffeine to prepare for going to the gym or even playing softball when I was, and that just revved me up a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
but the challenge is having something that drains oneself and then recreating. It could also compromise joint health.
Hmm.
Uh, how do you see your clients dealing with some of their joint health? Are they coming in challenged or?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of knee stuff. I see a lot of knees and shoulders and hip, all the joints.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I see the average person come in who is somewhat deconditioned, let's say, right? Someone who may have lost their way at some point, whether they lost their way for 6 months, a year, 10 years, they come in and overall it's just they're stiff. And it's not even me. This is not me. This is not me acknowledging it. It's what they say. It's like, I just feel stiff. My knees are killing me. My hips are killing me. I've got this shoulder injury from, high school that's coming back. There's just, so you got to move your body. I know that's like a simple, you just have to move. I'm such a fan of in keeping it simple. And that's why we try to keep some of the programs in Broga relatively simple and functional. We're not looking to get into these wildly fantastic, twisty, bendy, pretzel shaped postures. I personally don't love them. I've been injured myself, and I don't think it's worth it. It's not sustainable. Um, so I see these people come in, and what they're looking for is they're not looking for anything other than just feeling a little bit better, to be
Mm-hmm.
able to move without pain, to be able to get up out of their seat, sit down. get in and out of their car, maybe interact with their kids, without their back hurting them.
Mm-hmm.
So, so much of it comes into play, Howie. What you eat, how you move, how you don't move. Obviously, pre-existing injuries play a big role. Hydration.
Mm-hmm.
So, the mind, I would imagine, has a big role in how you feel in your body. Stress. So I think the people that come in feeling like achy and sore, and I'm 46, I'm no spring chicken. I feel all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
and my remedy every morning is getting up and moving. And this isn't like I'm not trying to sell anything here. All I'm saying is like the first thing I do, coffee, roll the mat out, and I know I feel it in my knees. I played basketball in concrete for like 20 years. My knees feel it now, and I've got some achiness. And as soon as I get up, I come into a child's pose. I do some downward dog. I do some basic movements, and you get the synovial fluid rolling through the joints, get your blood moving, pumping, energy. I get up, and I'm ready. It feels so much better. And all I've done is kind of acknowledged it. I didn't take a pill for it. I kind of went systemically in, if that makes sense. I went to the root of it and started to move my body, and then I eat what I feel is a good, well-balanced way of eating that helps address some of my aches and pains as well, things that make me feel good.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there in discomfort, and you can do something about it. You just have to find the right program. And I'm not saying my program is, and I'm not saying yoga is. Yoga is not always the right thing to do, but it really can be if you find that specific program that is speaking to your body as it is now.
Got it. All right. Well, speaking now, viewers and listeners, feel free to call 919-518-9773. You can type in on the chat box, Skype, computers 2K voice. And also, if you want to email me, you can just click on my name on the page and a box will come up. You can tweet #try this and let me know. Robert, what is the contact that you prefer for people to reach you at Broga?
So brogayoga.com is our website. And if you are interested, so if you're just a person out there who's a student or an aspiring student and you want to reach me personally, you can email me, robert@brogayoga.com. I also am available for workshops and different teacher trainings. So if you're a teacher or you own a studio and you want to have Broga or myself come to your area, you can email chuck@brogayoga.com.
Mm-hmm.
And feel free to Facebook me. I'm here. I'm around. We have a Broga Yoga Instagram page that I try to post pretty regularly on. More like lifestyle, little shots to inspire you to, I don't know, move for the day.
Great.
Yeah, brogayoga.com. My email. And those, if you want to contact me, those are perfectly great ways to contact me. I'm on Facebook, and Broga is on Facebook as well.
Yes, I like them already.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. Welcome.
Well, we'll take another opportunity for the next strand, the next pearl in our strand. So, Amnon, would you share the next little clip? Many of us have heard about our shoulder blades, but may not really know what they do and how they're best positioned. I'd like you to consider having your elbows by your side and turning the palms up. From here, you can press the feet, extend your spine upward, and draw your elbows back, creating a little pinching of the shoulder blades. And release. We can breathe and do that several times. By engaging the shoulder blades, you have more stability for the support of your head through your neck, And it also invites the ribs to lift up and forward, inviting deeper breathing. Try that and see how it feels, and let me know. Well, those shoulder blades. Often when we're seated, we have our hands oriented downward, our elbows resting outwardly, which invites flaring of the shoulder blades. Also slumping and possibly further manspread. That's why this whole area in the back body is critical for supporting the front body. Many a man likes to puff up their chest, and that's great with big bulky muscles in front. But what's really holding it up and sustaining it is the back body, and as Robert has cited, the pelvis. Any other thoughts about shoulder blades, Robert, in your experience?
Yeah, the shoulder blades, they're scapular stability is something that I'm focusing on a lot lately. And one of the things we do, so in the yoga, if you're in, say, like a yoga, a vinyasa yoga, or even typical hatha yoga movement classes, there's a lot of pressing, a lot of downward energy pressing, not a lot of deliberate pulling, which would or could strengthen your upper back, right? Involve your shoulder blades, rhomboids, and creating that awareness in your back body. There is a lot of pushing, and then we also, like you said, we sit. So if you can see me, right, this is kind of the typical way of which we work, and it cuts off the breathing, it cuts your energy, your hip flexors are tight, your chest is rounded, your back is spread out, the man spread, as you mentioned. So the more you can bring awareness to your upper back, basically what you're doing is you're kind of reconditioning yourself in the way that you sit and move. It's just not going to feel okay for you to sit like this for very long without you sitting. I'm probably going to come out of the picture. This is how hunched over I am, but without you sitting up and really wanting to kind of like draw the shoulder blades back, like this is really a little bit more appropriate, right? Back is a little bit more engaged, shoulders strong, core is engaged. So what I try to do in a lot of my classes, all of them, is involve some kind of like deliberate arm pulling, right? So bring the attention to the shoulder blades and upper back and engage your lats as well. As you do these squats with pulling mechanisms, your arms become these levers, right? So to address that area, so that when you come into a side plank, right? A lot of people come into a side plank and there's a complete disconnect. It's basically just the hand and the wrist. And if the hand also isn't even, stacked underneath the shoulder, now the shoulder is just taking the brunt of the posture and your back isn't even involved. But if you really workshop like a side plank, most of the stability is in your shoulder blades and your back, that scapular stability. Mm-hmm. It's a really amazing thing to focus on as well, my friends. So scapular stability, strength in these postures. Yoga is not about flexibility only. And I think that's a huge misconception. It must be balanced with just as much strength as flexibility.
Agreed.
So real quick, if you don't mind me kind of sharing this, Howie.
Sure.
I know I've been in the yoga biz for a while. I know a lot of people who have done and practiced yoga solely. That's it. They've just practiced yoga for X amount of years and really focused on deep flexibility, opening the hips. We've heard that a million times, right? We got to open those hips. We got to stretch those hamstrings. We got to stretch, open. But if that's not done, say, I don't like to use the word proper or you should do it this way, but without some sense of awareness and some intelligence in that flexibility and opening, number one, you can go too far. You can go too far and now you're sitting in the ligaments and tendons and those things don't come back. Once they're stretched out, they don't come back. They come back a minimal amount, I think. Mm-hmm. So over these years of stretching and opening, and not focusing on the strength, the body's become kind of like knees become trashed, your hips, or you're basically like your body becomes compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you who out there who are really focusing on trying to touch your toes or open your hips and do this crazy pose, make sure as you're doing it, ask your teacher, like, okay, how can I also match or engage more strength while I'm doing this? Strength, keep the muscle activation happening as well, my friends. It is not to get like big and bulky, but to like match the flexibility with strength. Again, that's another show, Howie.
We're taking notes.
Good.
Well, speaking of when you mentioned teachers, could you, within a minute, describe the teacher program to become a Broga certified teacher?
Yeah. So we have two different options. You can do it live or online. Okay. And if you have more questions about that, please email me and ask me. The training will give you all of our insight about why Broga is or can be important to have at your studio, let's say, right? So if it's going to speak to men, like maybe your studio is one of those studios that has mostly women. Why not try to tap into that underserved population of men that could be attending your studio? So just from a business standpoint, it could be smart. And I know a number of studios that have benefited and still benefit from having one Broga class or two Broga classes dedicated on the schedule every week. It just could be a good business move for you. If you're an instructor, it's another training for you to take. You might learn a couple of, as Howie talks about, some pearls. I've done countless teacher trainings live, mostly, where you've got people that have come into the training with 20 plus years experience, and they leave with a lot of information, things that they didn't ever consider. So a lot of considerations, a lot of anatomy considerations, different movements that you may have not ever done. So we've got, what you'll leave with is a pretty good amount of information that will be, I believe, very helpful for you, whether you teach Broga or not, a solid sequence of movements, and a community of people who are super pumped and excited to teach Broga and get involved. So it's another thing for your career, to help build your career as well. And you get CEUs, continuing education credits, CECs.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah.
it's a great program. It's a great program. Message me. I'll give you any more information you might have about it.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to encourage viewers and listeners, call in, Skype, or chat 919-518-9773, computers 2K voice, type on the chat box, email me, tweet, try this and let me know. And in the meantime, we're going to transition to pearl number 3. Get ready. Have you ever noticed your chin tucked to your chest, and it's often more difficult to breathe in that position? Well, if so, consider engaging your shoulder blades and lifting your head up. When I say lifting your head up, that doesn't just mean hinging and lifting the chin, but actively drawing the head back and up by engaging your shoulder blades. That reduces the sharpness in the angle of your neck, tipping forward, and allows opening of the chest area, reducing tension in muscles that may have been contracted. So let's draw the head up and back, take some breaths, notice how it feels, and let me know. All right. Now, why is it essential to get the head in position? Well, if you've been viewing, you see that Robert is heavily meditated.
Love this shirt.
Love this shirt. That's why he got it in black, so he can wear it every day.
That's right.
It's even printed on the other side, too.
Mm-hmm.
So the point, ultimately, of a yoga practice, which some of us guys who are just too busy to stick around is to meditate at the end. That's the dessert, the good stuff. And what I'm trying to encourage is positioning your body to foster stability, comfort, and better breathing. Robert, tell me about some of your recommendations for men just to get started with meditating. How do you ease them in?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think there's a lot of it can be sort of intimidating, and I think a lot of people can write it off as like, I can't sit down for even 10 seconds. I can't focus. My mind is too crazy. And I think number one, just a rough way to look at this would be start with like 10 seconds. Start with 5 breaths. Okay, I think also, so start small. Start with 5 breaths, 1 minute, move up to 2 minutes possibly. Maybe do that. Dedicate like, say, 5 1-minute practices throughout the day. The other thing is you don't have to have a yoga mat out. You don't have to have a bunch of candles. You don't have to have anything other than you can be doing it standing. You can do it seated, kneeling. You can do it while you're chopping vegetables. My basic, now again, there's a lot of different ways you could probably talk about this, but just think of it as you taking a moment to pause and be that silent, quiet observer of what is happening in that moment. So if you've decided to sit down on your chair, on your floor, sit, eyes closed, or half sort of like eyes half masked, gazing down 45 degrees, and simply sit without judgment or without even forcing anything and just notice what's up. Notice what's going on. And even if it's like, don't try to like not have any thoughts. Your brain is designed to have thoughts. Maybe take a moment to acknowledge those thoughts and even look at those, because I think it's important for all of us. Myself, I've been really doing this lately. Like, what kind of thoughts are sort of crowding my head every day? What's the internal dialogue I've got going on? Is it supportive? Am I hard on myself? Most of the time we're pretty hard on ourselves, and I'm going through the day going like, such an idiot. Why didn't I do that? It's usually the things that I don't do. So maybe pay attention to your thoughts, maybe create some sort of like number count in your breath. We call that a mantra, something for you to focus on. Mantra equals sort of like mind protector, right? Protects your mind from all the abundance of thoughts. So let me backtrack a little bit. Find wherever, seated, standing, doesn't matter. 1 minute, count to 3 or 4 on your inhale, 5 or 6 on your exhale. Maybe even create some language behind that mantra, like inhale, I'm breathing in, exhale, I'm breathing out. Keep it simple. This does not have to be anything other than you just sitting down and pausing for the day. It's hard. It's hard. It's really difficult. But the more you do it, the more you start to crave it, and the more it becomes a practice. Like anything else, you've got to practice it. Your relationship to you. And you know what, you guys, if you're watching this, a lot of the yoga and meditation, it's all about you. It's about this relationship you have with yourself. And with our crazy busy lives, we're so good at focusing outward, getting this like life figured out, taking care of things, checking the list off, checking the emails, but use it as a moment, whether you like yourself or not. Maybe over time you begin to create a positive relationship with yourself, but sit quietly with yourself, see what happens, see what comes up. It can be really beneficial. It can be also not, and you're not also sitting down. Yoga's not also like all about roses and cherries and good stuff. You're kind of looking at your stuff. You're looking at your shit. We all have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't going away until you address it and figure it out. And I'm not trying to preach to you. I just know that like these are techniques, the yoga practice, the meditation, these are techniques that have helped me to kind of figure my stuff out. I want to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Like halfway through this life. I'm on the second half now, I think. So I want to like I want to do this. I want to do it as clearly and openly and like lovingly and compassionate as I can, not only with myself, but with everyone I come into contact with. So
Beautiful.
back to your question, Howie, keep it simple, my friends. You don't have to do it for an hour. It doesn't have to be anything other than you sitting and pausing.
True. And how I like to share an introductory yoga, an introductory meditation practice is that if you take 10 slow breaths, that equals about a minute. So we call this a 1 minute meditation. I'd like to invite people to picture the number 10 on the inhale and it dissolving on the exhale, going slowly down towards 0. And if you're still awake at 0, then
Yeah.
you've had a 1 minute meditation. The other thing I would add is one could chop vegetables meditatively, but I would discourage you from trying to meditate and chop vegetables at the same time. Do keep your eyes open, unless you're cutting fingers as you meditate. That's just a joke, sons.
Yeah, the cutting vegetables might just be more of a mindfulness thing. You're just paying attention.
That's right.
Paying attention layer to that.
Yes, we can breathe and do any sort of action with proper support and call that yoga.
Yeah.
Looking ahead as to what's coming up, our nonprofit organization has a wonderful event called Yoga Fest NC on April 8th here in Raleigh. But looking at the Broga website, I see something that looks like what I would call Broga Fest in August at Stowe, Vermont. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, right now that is designed for the instructors that we have. So this
Okay.
is an instructor retreat that I'm very excited to offer. This is something we've talked about for a long time. It's an annual retreat for anyone who's an instructor. And so spots are still open and available, as are our teacher training. So if you became a teacher trainee, an instructor, and there's still time for you to come to Vermont and hang out with us and get continuing education, and we'll have discussions and practices, and it'll be a good way to bring all of the instructors together and share stories. Because what's really cool about this is it's a growing global brand. Like when I say global, I don't want you to, I'm not trying to say like this is everywhere in the world, but there are spots all over the world where Broga is, and it's primarily in the United States. But every teacher out there has a different demographic of people. There are different people out there that they're teaching to. Some people may have an all-male class. Some may have all women. Some may be in their 60s and 70s. Some may be like a college Broga class. So we all have different stories to bring to the table, and I'm excited to hear about them from the other teachers. And I'll add to I don't know if it's on the website. It should be, but if anyone, we have 2 spots available. Costa Rica is a retreat that I do every year now. This is our 4th annual retreat. This is in the Osa Peninsula, Costa Rica. It is January 20th through the 28th. So if you've ever had like a bucket list thing, I want to go on a yoga retreat, I want to maybe even learn how to surf or spend some time in the jungle, I want to go to Costa Rica, any of those, if you want to, like any of those and then some, this might be a good thing for you. So right now I'm offering $200 off. It brings the total down. It's like an all-inclusive thing. It brings it down to $19.95. That includes all your accommodations, all of your food, and your domestic in-country travel. All you have to do is get a flight from wherever you are down to San Jose, Costa Rica, and we'll take care of the rest. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and like I said, we've got 2 spots available. So if this speaks to you, I know it's last minute, message me, and we'll get you there.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and messaging Robert can mean robert@broga.com.
BrogaYoga.com.
Oh, my bad.
You're bad, Howie. You're bad.
That's right. I'm Howard now.
Howard.
It's
Howard.
BrogaYoga.com. Thank you, Amnon, for catching that too. My seat got warm. We're wrapping up the show, and wanted to thank Robert and all of his members of Broga, which is men and women. Lady teachers, feel free to consider checking out this niche of market. I can assure you that there's plenty of men out there that say, I can't do yoga, but I'm curious. And there's also many women of that similar nature who can benefit from Broga. Our organization adapts yoga so that anyone can participate. Our mission is to help the physically challenged and underserved improve their life with yoga. If you're feeling that you can be sharing information as a guest, I welcome contact. Just click my name on the website. I'd like to thank Robert and Broga, give him a namaste. Appreciate the time and space and wisdom. He's on the Northeast, so he's on Eastern time. Feel free to connect with us one more time via phone, chat, or Skype.
Can I add one more thing, Howie?
Please.
Okay, so I'm the technically creator and co-founder of Broga. The other co-founder is Adam O'Neill, and he focuses more on the business side. So he isn't the one who necessarily would come into a conversation like this unless it was more about business. But I do want to say that we wouldn't be where we are without him. So this is why I'm even talking about Broga and how I'm able to continue to talk about it is largely due to his dedication and support on his end. So Adam, if you're watching, thanks. And anybody who, I don't do this alone. There are other amazing people involved with Broga. And so thanks to everybody involved. And, last little thought here, and I'll just wrap it up on my end. Don't let anything stop you from seeking out a yoga class. Don't feel like you have to quit anything, stop anything. Just come as you are. And yoga does a pretty good job of meeting you where you are. So you might not find your perfect class on the first time or the second time. You'll find that teacher eventually that speaks to you, whether it's online or a live class. But keep seeking it out because the benefits are there for you and everybody else. So I hope that resonates.
Beautiful. Well, that's all for today, everybody. Our show will be on YouTube. Just give us a little time for Amnon to process it. And look on the You Call This Yoga YouTube page. I imagine Broga may have some link to the show also soon. So feel free to visit Broga's Facebook page and their website, brogayoga.com.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Howie.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Robert. Next week, we'll have Lakshmi Volkar, my chair yoga teacher and visionary. See you soon.
You're tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.